The UFC just made a major move by signing a guy who might not be on everyone's radar yet, but trust me, this dude is no random prospect. I'm talking about Artem Vakhitov, the same guy who handed Alex Pereira his last loss in Glory Kickboxing. Yep, they've gone at it twice, and while both of them grabbed a win, Vahitov was the last one to dish out the final L before Pereira jumped over to the UFC and started putting people to sleep. Now, let's not get it twisted. Ardam isn't just another striker, okay? The guy is a two-time Glory light heavyweight champion, and he didn't hold the belt by accident, okay? He defended it 5 times between 2016 to 2019, and his striking is crisp, especially his boxing, and his defense is rock solid. He faced tough guys like Salo Kavria and Zach Makaiska, so he's definitely battle tested at the highest level. And one of the biggest highlights of Vahitov's career is his rivalry with Alex Pereira. They traded wins in Glory, but Ardam was the last person to beat Pereira before he transitioned to MMA and started tearing through the UFC. After dominating in kickboxing, Vahitov made the switch to MMA in 2023. While his debut was cut short due to an injury, he did bounce back in a big way, notching 3 consistent first round finishes, which earned him a UFC contract after a strong performance on the Dana White Contender Series. Now here's where things start getting interesting. How far can he really go in the UFC? Well, they're fast tracking him. Probably, but let's not forget that this is MMA, not kickboxing. Still, his kickboxing skills will carry him a long way in the division. I believe a lot of unranked light heavyweights aren't that strong, and the UFC will likely set him up with very favorable stylistic matchups. He won't have to worry too much about fighting grapplers at most. He might face a striker who tries to mix in some grappling, don't get me wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Alex Pereira only had 3 or 4 UFC fights before he got that big title shot. I think it was 3 though. He started off with 2 unranked opponents, both of which were carefully chosen stylistic matchups. Not that he had it easy, but let's be honest, when your striking is that good, all you really have to worry about is getting matched up with somebody who isn't a master grappler. After winning those 2 fights, he went on to fight Sean Strickland, who was ranked number 4 at the time. And man, poor Sean, he didn't even see that left hook coming. It was lights out for him, and just like that, Alex was on his way to get a title shot. Now imagine if Artem Vakhitov follows a similar path. He just needs to string together a couple of solid wins and a couple, probably 2 or 3 fights. Just because for him, he needs to get used to MMA, because let's face it, while Artem's got the striking pedigree, this isn't the same as kickboxing. We all know he's got those hands or feet, depending on how he's feeling, but he's got to show how he can handle a bit of wrestling or groundwork in general. After those 2 or 3 fights, he could potentially find himself facing someone like Khalil Roundtree or even a Jamal Hill, which should be a good stylistic matchup for Artem. And if he manages to get past those challenges, well, buckle up, because a title shot might just be on the horizon for him too. It's almost like MMA matchmaking is like a video game where you've got to fight progressively tougher bosses. And once you beat the final level, which in this case is Hill or somebody similar, you're ready for the big one. Artem just needs to stack a few wins, avoid getting smothered by a grappler, and then bam, he's in the new title conversation. That's how it worked for Alex after all, and who knows, maybe Ardam will have his own Sean Strickland moment where he makes someone think twice about trading punches with a kickboxer. But then again, that question is still lingering. Can he defend a takedown? And if he does get taken down, can he manage on the ground to get back on the feet? Sure, he stuffed a few takedowns, but let's be honest, those attempts were from guys who telegraphed them a mile away. And those fighters weren't exactly in a high level, you know? While Alex's grappling's defense has been questionable, he showed real improvement. He had Jan on his back, trying to sink in a rear naked choke and landing ground and pound every so often. Just because Ardam is a kickboxer doesn't automatically mean he's gonna level up in those areas. However, the dude has time to improve. The man is just 33 years old. And I think what separates Alex and Ardam is that Alex is extremely powerful with devastating knockouts, good leg kicks, and a solid jab, especially to the body too, which makes him very dangerous in general. However, Ardam brings a different kind of danger that could be highly effective in MMA. Artem is a technical striker known for his sharp counterpunching, precision striking, and his ability to control distance. He has excellent defensive skills, such as head movement and footwork, which allows him to avoid damage while setting up his own shots. His powerful low kicks and strategic use of combinations wear opponents down, and his composure under pressure makes him adaptable to different styles. While Alex relies heavily on his power, Artem well-rounded technical approach could make him a formidable force in MMA. Oh, and let's talk about the idea floating around that Vahitov versus Pereira is just a replay of the whole Pereira versus Izzy saga. I mean, sure, there are some similarities, but let's not get carried away. Vahitov and Pereira traded wins, while Alex and Izzy didn't. Alex took both wins over Adesanya in kickboxing. Plus, the second fight between Vahitov and Pereira, well, that wasn't exactly a blowout. It was actually a super close contest with a controversial point deduction for Pereira. So if you ask me, that second win for Vahitov has some drama attached. Here's another big difference compared to Izzy's rivalry with Poatan. When Artem Vakhitov moved from Dana White's Contender Series to the UFC, Alex was quick to go watch him and meet him and congratulate him on his win. But when Izzy heard about it, Poatan's UFC debut, he did not care at all and just kept painting his nails until Alex beat him in his own home. After their fight, Alex was the one who congratulated Izzy, so there's clearly more respect between these two. And look, man, going back to Vahitov, while he's definitely on Pereira's level in kickboxing, we still need to see how his style fits into MMA. His high guard works well in the ring, but against a well-rounded MMA fighter, it could be a challenge. Also, his size might be an issue when he's facing explosive guys in the UFC light heavyweight division. But let's not count him out. He's got a ton of potential to make some noise. But truth be told, I'm not going to be too hyped about this potential matchup just yet. Do I think Ardam could get fast-tracked? Yeah, of course, like I mentioned earlier, but I'm not setting sky-high expectations for the guy right now. He's brand new to MMA, and until we get to see him get tested, like really tested, I'm not gonna give him all my hype. What I want to see is how he handles adversity. Sure, it's exciting when a guy finishes fights in the first round, but it doesn't tell you everything about their skill set or mental toughness. I want to see him in a fight where things aren't going his way, where he has to adapt and dig deep. Until we get that, I'm not getting overly excited. We're mostly just seeing the storyline so far. And while you could say the same thing about Alex Pereira, when he came in, Pereira passed his test with flying colors. And look, it's just not guaranteed that just because Ardam has incredible kickboxing credentials, he'll replicate the guys like Alex or Izzy have done. Take Gohan Saki for an example. His kickboxing resume was amazing, but he struggled in the UFC. He barely won his first fight, and then he got knocked out by Khalil Roundtree in the first round in his next one. So yeah, a solid kickboxing background doesn't necessarily mean Artem is just going to come in and dominate right away. Time will tell how far this guy can really go, and until he proves himself in a tougher situation, I'm staying cautiously optimistic. We'll just have to wait and see how his transition from kickboxing to MMA plays out, but those are just my thoughts. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below how far Ardam will go in the UFC. And like always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.